Baghdad, in those days, was not merely a city. It was a living mind. Its streets remembered footsteps, its walls listened to whispers, and its markets echoed with stories long after voices had faded. Wisdom and folly walked side by side, sometimes disguised as laughter, sometimes hidden behind silence. On one such morning, when the sun rose gently over domes and minarets, Abu Nuwas stepped out into the city. He walked slowly, not because his body was tired, but because his thoughts were heavy. The night before had been long, filled with conversations, laughter, and verses spoken half in jest and half in truth. Abu Nuwas was known for his sharp tongue and playful poetry, yet behind the humor lived a mind that never truly rested. As he moved through the narrow streets, he murmured lines of poetry under his breath. Some lines made him smile, others made his brow tighten. Poetry, to him, was not entertainment alone. It was confession. It was rebellion. It was a mirror that reflected both beauty and hypocrisy. The marketplace was already alive. Merchants called out to passers-by, children darted between stalls, and the scent of spices mixed with dust and warm bread. Abu Nuwas passed unnoticed by some, recognized by others. A few nodded respectfully, a few whispered his name. Then a voice stopped him. "Wait! Abu Nuwas." It was not loud. It was not timid either. It was calm, clear, and certain. Abu Nuwas turned. Before him stood a boy, young in years, dressed simply, his sandals worn, his clothes clean but plain, yet his eyes shone with a sharpness that did not belong to childhood alone. There was curiosity there, but also confidence. Abu Nuwas raised an eyebrow. "And who might you be?" he asked with a smile, to stop a poet in the middle of his thoughts. The boy replied without hesitation. "In Baghdad, words arrive before people. I recognized you by the way you walk while thinking." Abu Nuwas laughed softly. "That is a dangerous talent," he said, seeing what others miss. The boy shrugged. "I listen more than I speak." "Then speak now," Abu Nuwas said. "You've earned that much." The boy looked around briefly, as if measuring the moment, then asked, "They say you are the poet of laughter and boldness. Yet your eyes look burdened. Why do the clever ones laugh the loudest?" The question struck deeper than Abu Nuwas expected. He did not answer immediately. Instead, he sat down on a stone near a spice stall and motioned for the boy to sit beside him. "Because," Abu Nuwas said at last, "those who understand the world too clearly must soften its weight somehow. Laughter is lighter than despair." The boy nodded slowly. "Then poetry is not meant only to amuse?" "No," Abu Nuwas replied. "Poetry is meant to reveal. It says what people fear to say plainly." The boy smiled. "Then poetry is a mirror." Abu Nuwas leaned forward. Mijo." "Yes," the boy continued. "Those who are honest see themselves. Those who are not see excuses." Abu Nuwas stared at him, surprised. "And who taught you that?" "Life," the boy said simply. "I sell water in this market. I hear more than I speak. Some drink because they are thirsty. Others drink to hide the dryness inside them." Abu Nuwas burst into laughter, loud and genuine. "By the truth of Baghdad," he said, "you are wiser than many men who sit in palaces." Their conversation had drawn attention. A few merchants paused. A couple of scholars slowed their steps. Wisdom, when spoken honestly, gathers listeners without invitation. Abu Nuwas asked, "Tell me, boy, what do you think of poets?" The boy answered thoughtfully, "Some write to impress others. Some write to escape themselves. A few write because silence frightens them." Abu Nuwas lowered his gaze. "And which am I?" The boy met his eyes. "You're right because if you stop, you might hear the truth too, clearly." Silence fell between them. Not an empty silence, but a full one. Then Abu Nuwas stood abruptly. "People of Baghdad," he called out, "bear witness. Today, I was taught more in the street than in the courts of rulers." He composed a verse on the spot, speaking of wisdom that does not depend on age, and minds sharper in alleys than in halls of power. Applause followed. Murmurs spread. Some laughed, some reflected. The boy grew shy. "I did not mean to cause such noise," he said. Abu Nuwas placed a hand gently on the boy's shoulder. Never silence truth to preserve comfort, he said. Baghdad survives on voices like yours, the boy replied, and I will survive by listening. They parted ways. The boy returned to his water jug. Abu Nuwas continued walking. Lighter than before, for the rest of that day, every verse he composed carried the echo of a small voice in a narrow street. From that moment on, Abu Nuwas often paused when passing children, beggars, and merchants. He learned to listen as carefully as he spoke, and Baghdad continued to teach its lessons quietly, generously, to those humble enough to hear. For wisdom, as Abu Nuwas discovered, does not always arrive in books or palaces. Sometimes it walks barefoot through the streets. And so the story lived on, whispered in markets, repeated in homes, reminding all who heard it that true intelligence often speaks softly and true wisdom never demands attention.